First big splash of the NBA offseason came yesterday when the Oklahoma City Thunder traded 21-year-old Josh Giddey, the 6th overall pick in 2021, to the Bulls for 30-year-old Alex Caruso, who, of course, went undrafted out of Texas A&M. So, Rachel, who got the better of this deal?
Oklahoma City got the best of this deal. They won the trade, if you want to call it that way, but I don't think Chicago lost the trade. I think this was one of those good trades for both teams. You know, Josh Giddey is not going to have as much of an impact, certainly not immediately in Chicago, as we expect Caruso to have in OKC, but you just pointed out that Josh is 21 years old. He's got a lot of room to develop. He will have more of a chance to do that in Chicago. He's on their timeline. And for Chicago's sake, he's going to help them move the ball so much better than they saw this past season. He's great with the assists, and obviously they have just been one of the best teams that have the most unassisted baskets in the NBA. There's a lot of places he can make an impact. So, again, I don't think Chicago lost this trade. Yep. But let's talk about who won in terms of the idea of Alex Caruso and Oklahoma City is so dangerous. It is just another Sam Presti move that you have to sit back and clap your hands, because this wasn't a team that couldn't defend before. They've had Lou Dort. They had great team defense, but now they are going to be just teeth in every opponent. I want to read you some stats here. Oklahoma City now has 2 of the top 3 players in total steals from last season. So the two of the top 3 guys who stole the ball most. They also had the top 2 guys now with Caruso and Lou Dort, who guarded all-stars the most last season. So the guys who got the hardest assignments were the 2 guys on their team now, which is incredible. You've got the guys who can do that. They've also got, by the way, Cason Wallace, who's a great on-ball defender.
He is.
The issue with Caruso a little bit for the Bulls had been that he was due for a big extension. Oklahoma City has the money and cap space to do that. So it's just sort of a perfect Sam Presti deal. I don't expect him to be done. I think now he's going to have to beef up a little bit on the other side of the ball. I also expect him to maybe beef up the center position. Chet Holmgren is fabulous, but he's not the biggest physical presence.
Beef him up. How about that?
Well, I mean, they can. And there was a great picture, by the way.
I'm not sure he's capable of beefing up, but go ahead.
I don't know if you saw Victor Wembanyama post a picture of him all muscly now and kind of compare it to his state. So it can happen. But yeah, I just think this is another thing where you had a team who finished #1 in the West, who now has that playoff experience that we always say you need to go through it to get through it and all of that stuff. They got that. Now they've got Alex Caruso, which just makes their defense, it feels like, one of the grittiest in the NBA. And he's not done. So it's just, this team just keeps getting better. And when we talk about the Lakers, when we talk about the Timberwolves, when we talk about Denver, you have to remember the competition is going to get harder because teams like Oklahoma City are going to be better.
You know what this move is, though, Skip? It's a Boston Celtic move, believe it or not.
It's a Drew Holiday type move?
This is what they did to get over the hump. Yeah. We need to be able to do the same sort of thing.
Agreed.
Look, the deal is like Rachel was saying. It's not like Chicago lost the trade, and it's not like all of a sudden OKC just, oh my God, they fleeced them. It's going to work out probably for both. You get a young 21-year-old that eventually may become a foundational piece for Chicago, where you got a 30-year-old getting up in age that, you say, okay, his contract, he wants an extension, it's coming up. They got about $30+ million. They could spend it in OKC. The great thing about OKC is they didn't have to give up anything. It's just a straight trade. They got all their 10,000 draft picks still in their back pocket to do whatever it is that they need to do with them. Now you get a guy like she was talking about, Rachel was talking about, an all NBA defensive player. Okay, you get that. You get a guy at 43% shooting threes, so now he becomes a 3-and-D. Just this year, his percentage is up at 43%. Not his career, just this year. He's gotten better. So now you get a little bit of a 3-and-D guy. Now, so like Rachel talked about, you look at, and this is where the Drew Holiday situation comes into play at. You look at the conference. They've got to go through Murray's in Denver. They've got to go through Luka's in Dallas. They've got to go through Curry's and Ant-Man's. It's just a long list of players that they got to see to be able to defend. He's got to be able to fight through pick and rolls. He can do all the same sort of things that Drew Holiday brought to the Boston Celtics. Not saying that they're going to win a championship like the Celtics, but they were the #1 team in the conference.
He also has championship experience.
But he's also a veteran that brings some championship experience to that young locker room. Now, Boston had Al Horford, which was an old, but he had no championships. And those guys had been there, but they hadn't gotten over the hump.
Yep.
But it's almost like they're doing the right things to get OKC over the hump. I don't think OKC is going to win a championship next year, no stretch of the imagination, but they're going to be in the mix. And this is just a piece that helps them do that. You add another piece to the puzzle of a team that was already like this close, you never know what might happen.
Thank you. So you won't remember this, but on Tuesday, after the finals were over, our final topic of the show was the Boston Celtics will play which Western Conference team in next year's finals, and I went Oklahoma City Thunder only because I knew Sam Presti had all kinds of room and ammo to do this, that, and the other in the offseason, and this was a this. When I heard this last night, I said, home run, bingo, thank you, God. Here he comes. That's exactly the first piece to the championship puzzle that was missing here. And, okay, I'm from there, but I couldn't get my arms around the Westbrook, Durant, James Harden Thunder. They were kind of at each other's throats right away, and it wasn't lovable to me. This team was very lovable this year because this team loved each other. And you're right, they were about that close. And Kyrie did say after that series, this is the toughest series I've ever been in, and he's been in a whole lot of series in his career. He might now say the finals was the toughest series. But the point was that they were really good this year. They probably shocked themselves. They won more games than anybody in the Western Conference. Who saw that coming? And Caruso had some history. He briefly played for what's called the Oklahoma City Blue, the G League team, for Dagnall, the coach now of the senior team, the real team. When he was the G League coach, Alex briefly played for him, so he knows that they have some connection there. And then to your point, Alex Caruso's coming off his best year yet. He shot 41% from three and made second team All-NBA defense after making first team a year ago. Well, I can't draw it up any better. We all know how tough he is because he started in the closeout game that you covered in the bubble, in which they finally defeated and eliminated Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Alex Caruso started in that game and played 33 minutes for the champion Los Angeles Lakers, and he became known as the Caruso here in L.A., and I don't know if you loved him, but a lot of Laker fans really loved him.
Of course, yeah. I thought he actually was coming back potentially here within the last week or so because there was some rumblings that he could be on the block. And the Lakers could be interested.
Okay.
I mean, it's almost like they shouldn't have dealt him in the first place, Keyshawn.
That is true.
I'm not in the front office.
Yeah. Okay. But I do love your point. It's not like Chicago loses the trade. It's just that Oklahoma City got the better because he'll be more valuable to them than I think Josh Giddey will ever be to Chicago. But that's just me.
But also,
and I might not be objective.
From a money standpoint, Chicago with him and the money, plus OKC is further along than Chicago. Chicago ain't beating no damn Boston. That's just
Josh Giddey is 6 feet 8 inches tall. Don't forget that. And Josh Giddey is in some pretty high company because at 21, he has the fourth most triple doubles ever by that age. Magic's in there, Luka and Ben Simmons are ahead of him barely. But my point is he has 11 triple doubles, so he can play. And he was their point forward for this team. And yet, he had an off-the-court issue, and they got through it, and it was settled.
And he got benched a little bit in the playoffs.
Did he get benched? I mean, he got benched a lot because they lost confidence in him. And what really bothered me as a fan of that team, you could just see he started losing confidence in himself. And his points